Alright guys, what's going on? Kirk here from MotoGear TV. Thank you guys for tuning in once again. We're going to kick things off today by doing some more exterior modifications to the BMW M2. Now I know a lot of you have been waiting for this. We're going to be adding some more aero parts, and that has to do with me adding a brand new front lip to the front of the car. Now for me, this decision wasn't the easiest. From what you guys have seen with some of the mods that I've done, I'm typically leaning towards doing a more OEM Plus / M2 CS theme for the car, as you guys saw with me installing the M2 CS style rear spoiler as well as the mirror caps, and I think I really nailed finding the design that's going to enhance the overall front end of the car. I decided to go with a gloss black M2 CS style front lip. Now this was pretty hard for me to find. I know a lot of BMW owners typically go for carbon fiber everything. I didn't really want to do that. I think having a gloss black front lip was a much cleaner look. To be honest, tying into everything else that I have on the car with the gloss black grills, the mirror caps and the side vents, I think that the gloss black front lip was going to basically tie everything in together. Now that doesn't mean that I'm not going to add any more carbon fiber. I still want a couple accent pieces here and there, but I'm not going to go overkill and put carbon fiber everywhere. That's not really my theme. And honestly, with all of the horror stories I've heard about people damaging their carbon fiber front lip within the first few weeks, I didn't really want to go through that headache. Having a gloss black front lip is a much more budget friendly option that's going to be a little bit more durable in my opinion, and if it gets damaged, I have no problem with replacing it. Now I did get this front lip online. I think the retail was under $200 if I'm not mistaken. I think right now what we're gonna do, pull it out, show you guys the design, and hopefully you guys like it. So stay tuned, let's get started. We currently are in the month of December. I know this is supposed to be that time of year where all the YouTubers are supposed to be doing their Vlogmas. That's not gonna happen for us this year. Honestly, we're trying to do more than one video per week, preferably two, but honestly with so many other things going on in our lives, it's very hard to kind of manage all of that. I'm still hopeful that we're going to be able to produce some more content, so you guys definitely want to look out for everything that we have going on between now and next year. And speaking of next year, for those of you who don't know, me and Mark are going to be both attending BMW Invasion. Now BMW Invasion is going to be happening next year, February 19th 2022 in Orlando, Florida. It's going to be the biggest BMW car meet in the Central Florida area. Now this is going to be a massive attendance of BMW enthusiasts. You're going to have folks coming from all over the state and even out of state as well. I know there's a couple big YouTubers coming down. Shout out to the organizers, FAT Gold, Miguel and the entire team putting this together. My car is going to be on display as well as Mark's E90 M3 build. Now that's going to be something that we're going to be debuting, so you guys are definitely want to attend. Tickets are on sale right now, so make sure you guys go ahead and follow BMW Invasion. They'll have all the details posted for the event and also how you can make a purchase for your ticket. Alright, so just wanted to show you what the front of the car currently looks like. Just giving you an idea of what the clearance is going to be. Now there isn't that much, to be honest, right now. I'd say maybe 5-6 inches. The lip is definitely going to limit my clearance, especially getting out of my driveway. It's not the easiest right now, especially since the car has been lowered. Really curious to seeing how we're gonna achieve it. Most likely I'll have to just come out at an angle, and again, this was one of the reasons why I didn't want to go with a carbon fiber lip. I couldn't dread having to purchase something that expensive and putting it on the car and then having it scrape within a few days. Now the front lip is right here. Gonna unbox it and show you guys what we're working with today. Alright, and here it is guys. This is the BMW M2 CS style front lip. Now this was specifically designed for the OG M2 front bumper. I know for the M2 CS it does have the competition front bumper, but this one was specifically made to match the OG. I really fell in love with the styling of this front lip simply because it's pretty close to what the factory design was meant to be. I really like these nice little side winglets. It flares out to the side of the front bumper, gives it a nice aggressive look as well. And even the design with this flare right here, it matches perfectly to the arch right in the center of the front bumper. I think it's going to complement the overall body lines of the front very nicely, and even with the finish. Now this is gloss black. It's not paint matched to the black sapphire metallic on the car, but I'm okay with that. The gloss black is very close in comparison to the car paint itself, and if you guys notice, my front grills are gloss black as well as my side vents. I wasn't too caught up on that. Maybe in the future, if I wanted to be very meticulous, I could have this painted at a later time, but for now I think it's still going to match the car pretty nicely. Now the back of it isn't painted, it's just a raw finish. That shouldn't be much of an issue because even if I get this scraped, at least it won't be damaging anything. The installation process for this is going to be pretty straightforward. There are some pre-made markings for some holes we're going to have to drill. There's about 9 or 10 in total that we're going to have to drill. We're going to be using some self-tapping screws to attach the front lip to the front bumper of the car, and also doing some 3M automotive tape on some of the edges. For additional security, I could go ahead in the future and do a bolt and nut, but for right now we're just going to be using the self-tapping screws and also the double-sided tape. I don't think we should have any issues, but maybe down the line, maybe a week from now, I might add those just for some extra security. Alright, so I'm not going to bore you guys much longer with the talking. Let's get everything started. Alright, now before we get started, I think it makes sense to at least do a test fitment just to make sure that everything lines up properly before we start drilling anything. I'm really hoping that this fits up properly. I think honestly this is kind of where we want it to be. My idea behind it, we're just going to kind of line up the top line of where the lip stands with the front of the bumper. I think this sticks up pretty good, but when the car is up in the air, I think we'll have a better idea of where we want to put it. Alright, just want to show you some of the tools we're going to be using for today's install. We're going to have a drill, some drill bits, and these are the self-tapping screws that I mentioned earlier. I think what we're going to do is drill a smaller hole into the front lip and then use these self-tapping screws to guide it into the bumper itself. Also, we'll be having some 3M tape as I mentioned before, and this is some additional tape that came with the car. I'm going to try to not use this as much. This is going to be our primary tape, but in case I run out, this is what we're going to use as secondary. Alright, so we already taped off the areas that we're going to drill the holes, as you guys can see on the other side. Just taping it off as a precaution to make sure that when the drill bit goes through, it doesn't leave any damage on the paint side. As I mentioned before, we're going to be using a smaller drill bit compared to the self-tapping screw, simply because if it's smaller, it's going to pose less of a risk, especially when we go to do the self-tapping screw. So already went ahead and did a test drill just to make sure that everything went through properly. This one is good so far, so we're just going to complete the process for the next 9. Okay, now we've arrived at the most critical part of the installation process, and that will be to actually mount the lip on the front bumper. Now, as I mentioned before, we did drill these holes. This is where the self-tapping screws are going to go. We're going to be drilling into the bumper with the self-tapping screws. The biggest thing that we need to really tackle is to making sure that the front lip lines up with the body line of the front bumper. This is gonna take a few minutes of trial and error, but we want to make sure that it's lined up correctly before we start drilling, because once you start drilling, that's it. Alright, so just doing a little bit of a test fitment right now and not looking too bad. Our biggest issue, we just want to make sure that everything kind of lines up properly, and even looking at it from the top seems to be pretty good. And also with the flare on the side, pretty much lines up with the edge of the bumper, lines up with the edge of this bumper as well. Probably just gonna go and do one more check to make sure everything lines up, and then from there we're gonna start drilling. Alright guys, and there you have it. CS front lip is finally on. Trust me, this thing is looking sick right now. I'm really happy with how it turned out. The fitment was pretty good. I would say it was about an 8.5 out of 10. The hardest part was just for us to kind of make sure that both ends were even, but I think it pretty much came out the way we wanted it to. Everything was secured, as I mentioned before, with self-tapping screws and 3M double-sided tape. As I mentioned before, we are going to be adding a few bolts and nuts just to give it some added reinforcement. For right now, it's pretty solid the way it is. I don't think it's going to be going anywhere. Now, I have been driving around with it for a few days just to make sure that everything was okay. It does clear my driveway perfectly. It does get me in and out of spaces, no issues. Now, I will have to be super cautious because there's an added piece in front of the car. But this isn't my first time driving low cars, so I think I should be pretty fine. What I really wanted to achieve with this was basically get the overall look and fitment properly, just to show you guys close up. Yeah. As I mentioned, these wings are super nice. I really love how aggressive the front end looks now with the lines. And this may not be why a lot of people get front lips, but it does help to give additional downforce. Just so you guys know, we'll be adding a rear diffuser to complement the front of this car. So you guys are gonna definitely want to look out for that. That's most likely gonna be the next piece that we're gonna add to the build. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys like it, give me a thumbs up. And also let me know what you guys prefer. If you guys don't like the CS style, what style do you guys like on the M2s? As I said, for me personally, this one really hits the nail on the head. I don't have any issues with it, and who knows, maybe later down in the line, if I can find a carbon fiber version to this, I might switch. Who knows? Yeah, the gloss black finish was really a good choice in my opinion. As I said, it matches all the other accent pieces on the car already, you know, still giving it an aggressive look without doing too much. Now, from what I've seen online, the supply of these is very limited. I am going to be leaving a link for the one I purchased in the description below, but if it does sell out, hopefully in the future I might find a more reliable source for you guys, so you guys are definitely want to stay tuned for that. We have a lot of upcoming things going on into next year, and who knows, Aero Parts might just be a part of it. Alright, now as always, if you guys like this install, make sure to smash the like button. If you guys aren't doing so as yet, make sure you subscribe to MotoGear TV. Thank you guys for watching today's episode. See you on the next one. We out.